All right, so yeah, I mean, Rise, I'm going to start in the daily view and then cover the session timer. Again, I'll try and go through this like high level overview pretty quickly, and then if you guys have questions along the way, just shout something or just drop it in the chat, whatever is easier, and then we can cover anything specifically. I can dive deeper after or as we go through this. So in the daily view, this is a great place to look at to understand exactly how Rise works. So at its core, Rise is a time tracker. It actually is built on like a very simple piece of data, which we call a tracking event. A tracking event, you can see in this activity feed, it just has a timestamp, an app ID or a website, and a title, and maybe a URL if it's a website. Yeah. And basically each app and each website gets categorized into a specific category, which you guys can see here. And then we build everything, all these other metrics are based off those categories. So I'd say like one of the most important things with Rise is making sure that you get those categories accurate, and make sure the configuration around those categories are accurate, because all the follow-on metrics like focus and work hours are built off those categories. Oops. Okay, so yeah, so that's sort of like a high-level overview of like the piece of data that all this is built on, and now I'm going to dive in a bit more. The first component you'll see here is the timeline. So your timeline is going to show you when you were active on the computer, when you weren't. You'll see that it has a few different sections. The first is this purple section. These purple blocks are just when you're active on the computer. You can hover over them, and it's going to show you breakdowns of the categories for that piece of time, as well as the apps and websites. Below that, you're going to see your specific sessions. There'll be teal represents focus sessions, and pink, that hot pink, represents meeting sessions, and we'll dive into those a little bit more. Basically, yeah, that's the core of like Rise. It's just going to actually show you that you can tweak your timeline by zooming in or zooming out. You can change the settings. It's pretty cool. I'm also going to jump quickly to the categories because I probably should have covered that first. So as I mentioned, categories are really important because everything is built on top of those. So in order to categorize, you'll see every app, we come with a set of default categories, but any app or website that we do not have in our default categories is going to start as miscellaneous. So you can click into miscellaneous and see all of them here. After you spend a certain threshold of time in a miscellaneous app or website, we're going to recategorize that automatically to uncategorized. So what we recommend is don't worry about things in miscellaneous. You're frankly not spending enough time in them for you to spend time categorizing them. But once it hits uncategorized, that's when you should categorize it. And so we recommend that when you first start using Rise, spend 5 minutes a day the first week looking over your categories, categorizing anything you see in uncategorized first, and then just checking this out to make sure that everything feels accurate. Like if you see productivity is really high and you don't feel like that's accurate, or customer support, you can click into one of these categorization modules and recategorize it. And since we're here, I'll show you just quickly how to recategorize things. So when you look here at a category breakdown, you'll see the website or the app and the category. You can click on this top level category to recategorize it. So you can categorize it, you can select the category or create a new one. Then you can change it for this instance only, which in this case will only change it for the day. If you're categorizing in the context of a work block, it will just of a session, it will just categorize it over, change that category for the session. Or you can change it and create a rule moving forward. That means that everything will be categorized in that new categorized for the day and moving forward. That will, like in this case, that would apply to secure.helpscott.net, the top level app or website. You can also click this arrow here and it will show you all the URLs for that and titles for that app or website. So if you see an underline, we have a URL and a title. So if I wanted to categorize a specific URL, I can actually just click on that option, and then I'll have the option to create a rule based on that title or based on that URL. Okay. Hey, Jeff, I see you raise your hand. You want to ask your question?
Yeah, I didn't want to just cut you off, even though I know you said to.
Yeah.
So can you go ahead and close the category change and go back to the overview? So here in the overview, I assume that I was originally going to ask what the icons were, but I assume the icons are browser, and then the apple just means that it was an app on your Mac.
Yep, that's correct. And then you'll see a Windows. I don't have any right now because I haven't been using my Windows machine, but you'll see a Windows like the Microsoft icon for Windows apps.
Sure. And then also for the URLs that you have like under Help Scout there. So so these are the page level URLs, right? So these are the page titles.
Yep, that's correct.
Is that the only, and I know this is a ridiculous question, but is that the only information that you pull from the browser? Is those?
We will pull title and URL. That's it. So when we track for Rise, we never track any content within the window. That's just like from a privacy perspective, we don't want to do that. So we'll only track metadata. So basically that's app ID, URL, title, and timestamps, pretty much.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thanks.
Yep. Cool. And yeah, I mean, so that's sort of like a high level overview of categorizing. For if you see an app, you can see in Loom, like I was looking at a Loom video or the Loom app with this title video. And for apps, I can create a rule based on the title or just on the instance only in that detailed view. So once, I mean, that's basically a high level of how to categorize. And so once you get the categories down, it starts to make sense to get into some of these other metrics. For a lot of the metrics, it's pretty basic on the way it's built on categories, where like focus is a great example. How do we detect focus sessions? So like focus sessions are going to be auto detected based on your categories. Because we split all of your apps and websites into all of your categories into focus and non-focus categories, and you can view which categories are excluded from focus here in this section of your settings, exclude from focus time, and you can edit that. Similarly, you can view all the categories that exclude from work hours. So that's how we actually that's how we calculate how many hours you work each day. And so once you get the categories right, it probably makes sense to also just take a peek at these settings, so you can understand and make sure that everything is in line. Like, for example, some people want email to be excluded from focus time. I have it included. And there's some small, other tweaks, meditation excluded from work hours, that sort of thing. So that's an important section of the settings to call out. Okay, the next section I'm going to talk about is the sessions view. So sessions are actually, I think, one of the differentiators from Rise. It's one of the ways Rise can be really powerful, and it's pretty unique too in terms of time trackers. Because one of our goals with Rise is basically, there's a lot of time trackers out there that will give you a lot of data, but it's really on you to take that data and then connect it to that next step. So that take it up to that next sort of insight. And so one of the things we want to show with Rise is answer all these productivity questions, like how focused was I? How many hours did I work? That's not necessarily intuitive by just looking at a breakdown of apps and websites or categories. You can probably figure that out, but we want to just present that number to you as easy as possible. And so to that point, sessions are a really core part of Rise. There are 3 types of sessions: focus sessions, meeting sessions, and breaks. So focus sessions, meeting sessions, and break sessions, they will all be created automatically, depending on certain characteristics being met. You can also start all of them manually through the session timer, which we'll get to in a little bit. Focus is probably the most complex session that create from an auto detected standpoint. but as I mentioned, it's also pretty simple. Like everything is divided, all the categories into focus and non-focus categories. And if you're working on your computer and Rise detects that you've worked in, a certain threshold of time in focus categories, I think it's roughly 75% of time in focus categories for a 15-minute block, we're going to create a focus session automatically for you. This somewhat similar for meetings automatically, except it has to be in meeting categories, which are video conferencing, or it's mainly video conferencing, or another category that's called meetings. Focus sessions can also be started through the session timer, meetings as well, but meeting sessions can also be created through your calendar. Actually, focus sessions can be too, and breaks. As of today, we just launched a new feature. So if you go with if you guys use time boxing, let me know and I can talk a little bit more about that and how to auto create these sessions from your calendar as well.
I'm the one in the Discord channel who is bemoaning the lack of iCloud calendars.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
I know the new ability to do that is pretty slick. I'm excited for that.
Awesome. Yeah, I was using it this morning, and it's really nice. It's been really nice. So I'm apologies again for not having that iCloud integration, Apple Calendar integration out.
It's fine. Yeah. I figure it'll come.
Okay, cool. And I saw actually Anne mentioned time boxing, so I will cover that. Maybe actually, I can cover that right now. And yeah, Jeff, you might know this from Discord, but we actually just released a feature today, and which allows you to. So previously, this is the last section of the timeline. Is you can actually integrate with your Google Calendar, and it will show you your calendar events below your work blocks. So the inspiration here is that the goal of in the timeline view is we want you to really easily be able to look and see, okay, like how did I plan my day? Versus how I actually spent my time. But one of the things that we just launched with this, with time boxing, is the ability to automatically start the session timer based on your calendar events. So I'm going to drop a link to the change log, because that will have some more information as well. But basically now Rise automatically will create a meeting session if you have 2+ attendees in a calendar event, and it will also shade that calendar event pink below here. But what's cool now is if you add the keywords #rise-focus like this, #rise-break, or #rise/meeting to any calendar event, regardless of how many attendees they have, Rise will automatically create a session and start the session timer right when that event starts. So it's kind of cool because if you're really into time boxing, I like to generally time box at least my mornings. You can sort of create the schedule, and then the session timer is automatically going to transition from focus into break to meeting, and you'll get notifications along the way. Yeah, so let me know if you have any questions about that. Cool. And so so each of these sessions you can actually click on and see some pretty cool stats. So the first thing when you click on a focus session is you'll see your focus score. Actually, let me go back. First, you'll see when you click on a focus session is your breakdown for that session. Your category breakdown. You can recategorize anything, and when you can set overrides for specific chunks of time. For example, when you say change for only this instance, it's only going to change it for that specific session time length, which is kind of nice if you're working. You want to get really granular with these with categorization. The next step, you'll see a session survey. You just label how focused you are. This data is really cool because it will feed into our machine learning algorithm that will provide you with a focus quality score. And so the more you rate your sessions, the smarter that score is going to be and the more personalized. And then the last section is sort of your stats overview. You'll see, I always look at the focus quality score. That's really important to me. If your score is lower or higher, that's when you can dive down into these categories below that, because these are the major inputs that are going to affect that score. So, like you'll see, focus time is really important. So this is the amount of time that you spent in focus categories versus non-focus categories. Then you'll see your top categories. The number of interruptions. So this is chunks of time that you were checking non-focus categories for over a certain threshold. And then your top interrupters. So like Twitter and Discord, where this is a pretty good session for me. But you can see which apps and websites are the ones that are common distracting you. One area that we were hoping to get into is distraction blocking. So we haven't gotten there yet, but we want to make it easy to then take this data and make it much more actionable. So you can see that Twitter is always, because Twitter is my vice. It's always distracting me. So, that would be ideally an easy way to set up a rule where we could block that out more easily, but that's in the works. Meeting sessions offer not quite the same breakdown. It'll just not quite the same level of detail. It's just going to show you a breakdown. We have some more ideas of what we want to add, but we're just not there yet. Your work hours. So this is a huge metric for a lot of people, myself included. I think one of the inspirations for building Rise was that my co-founder and I actually couldn't answer this question. We had no idea how many hours we worked each day or week, and work is such an important part of our lives. So work hours is determined basically by dividing, looking at all your work categories, and I showed in the settings where you can set that up. You can also set a work goal. So defaults to 8 hours, but you can update that and you'll get a notification once you hit that threshold. You can also pause tracking here. Below that, you'll see your focus, meeting, and break time totals. So these are just going to be based on the length of your sessions, which are listed here. If you click in though, you can actually see some pretty cool insights as well. So this is like high level focus stats for your day. So you're going to see your total focus time, your average quality time of all your sessions, your session length, top interrupters for the day, and when you were more focused. So I always am more focused in the mornings, and you can sort of see that here with my 95 score that drops to an 84 as the day goes on. And we have a little legend with some benchmarks to help you process that data a little more easily, understand what's good and what's bad. Meetings and breaks offer some similar details. I won't go into them right now. I'm just gonna quickly jump to the weekly view right here. Oops, looks like there's a bug here. I'll need to look into that. The weekly view shows a lot of similar stats to your daily view, just on a weekly sense. And surprise, the monthly view offers something similar as well. You can easily jump back and see past months. And so, yeah, pretty straightforward. And yeah, that's really a high level overview of the daily dashboard and categorization. Is there anything else on this view that you guys want me to cover or jump into? Okay, so I am now going to jump to the session timer. So, okay, the session timer is relatively new. I'm going to end this, it's picking up that I'm in a meeting actually from my calendar, but I'm going to end that meeting just to show the different sections of the session timer. And any way to change the color settings to get more contrast? No, not currently. I'm sorry about that. It's definitely on our to-do list. We want to add a light theme and a few other themes. It's just, yeah, it's definitely something we need to do, even just to make the app a little more accessible, but we don't have a concrete timeline for that yet. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, but definitely stay posted, because I'll be sending product updates up once we do. Okay, on this session timer, there's a few different sections. It's actually also pretty simple. You're going to see your recent sessions, which it's the same. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so your upcoming sessions, these are pulled directly from your calendar. It's kind of nice. You can sort of see, yeah, what's on the docket for the rest of the day. And if you time box as well, it's kind of cool because you'll see all those planned. And then you're going to see your recent sessions below, which is just another way to do that. Another way to see the sessions for the day, just sort of like we covered. Actually, let me cover something really quickly about categorization. So you guys might have seen this yellow flag before. That means that a category was overridden for this time period. And so, for example, we have a meeting every day called Daily Sync, and I like to categorize that time as stand up. And that's based in my calendar. So I can show you how to set that up as well. And so what it will do is actually, it's going to override all the events that fall within that time period to have a category of stand up. And you can see that they're overridden by that yellow flag. You can remove that override by just changing it back to whatever category it is. You might see this a lot with meeting categories. There is a setting that's called meeting session consistently, or meeting category consistently. It's in your general settings, and basically by default, we override and update all categories that fall during meeting sessions to the category of that meeting. Some people like that, some people don't. You can disable that here. I just thought I'd call that out because we get a lot of questions about that. Okay, and back to the session view. The other part of it is you'll see this time since last break. Breaks are a huge part of working productively and efficiently, and a huge part of Rise. And so, yeah, we want to make sure that you're getting away from the computer. I think this is one of the ways that Rise has helped me personally a ton, because I was completely one of those people that would just sit in front of a computer screen for like 5 hours without moving and standing up. And so Rise has helped me definitely take a lot more breaks. It makes me feel much better at the end of the day. And then below that, you're going to see your various options to start different sessions. Kind of cool. You can hover over these little arrows on the far right if you do want to do a quick start, and it'll just jump you in there. Otherwise, you can click on Start Focus. You'll see a modal here. You can enter a goal for the session. You can add project tags. You can set a duration, and you can choose music. These are all tied into live streams for different types of music. You can even test out what it sounds like, what the stream does before you jump in. You're going to see similar setups for breaks. We have this really cool guided break for calm meditation that I've been doing. It will just run through an audio of a meditation. We'll be adding a lot more options here, including some like some videos around stretching and different stuff like that. It also has music option here. A meeting is a little more basic. There's no music option. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a high level. I'll start a focus session really quickly, just to show you guys. Once you start that, focus timer will start. You can extend it, end it. You can edit the goal or the project tags. You can edit the music. And then we also just launched this. You can disable or enable. You'll get a notification to refocus if you're in a session and you start looking at a website or app that's considered a non-focus category. I kind of like that. It's sort of like the break notification. It's like a nudge to get back on track. And as I mentioned, Twitter is definitely a vice for me. But yeah, a lot of people don't. You can disable that here. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of a high level overview of the demo of the product. Oops, should probably do that. Yeah, this is like a very small session. So, but yeah, are there any questions now that you guys specifically want to cover? Anything else I can share?